Krystal, law enforcement officers in Tennessee.
Let me ask you this, Tommy.
I know that this is your game to just interrupt me the entire time, but you're not going to do it.
Shouldn't they prosecute him then? If he's this violent gang leader,
the Biden administration said to let him go. He was on body cam with our Tennessee law enforcement officers that said this guy is human trafficking. The Biden administration said to let him go. It wasn't our law enforcement in Tennessee.
Joe Biden intervenes here? Okay. Tommy, but if he's this violent gang leader, don't you want to see him prosecuted?
I want to see him sent out of our country.
Him brought to justice? You're going to just let this violent gang leader go? Shouldn't be prosecuted here? Shouldn't he face criminal justice for these horrific acts you're alleging that he committed? No, they want to just get him out of the country because they know they can't secure a conviction because they know there's no there. So you should be very upset with them for dropping this case and just deporting him.
No, I love it when they just deport the criminals.
Or do anything for these horrific human trafficking things that you.
In this explosive debate, Krystal Ball goes head-to-head with conservative commentator Tomi Lahren, and things get heated fast. From accusations of fascism to clashes over free speech, immigration, and government overreach, both women pull no punches. Krystal calls out right-wing hypocrisy, while Tomi fights back defending conservative values and personal freedoms. It's a fiery, unfiltered exchange that exposes just how divided America has become, and by the end, one of them is left completely speechless.
First of all, let's talk a little bit about Antifa. Antifa, as you know, just stands for anti-fascist. I think we should all be anti-fascist. I would suspect that you would view yourself as also being anti-fascist. So Antifa as this like well-organized, well-oiled machine thing is a right-wing fantasy made up and invented out of whole cloth. So let's just put that out there. But look, if there's crimes, prosecute the crimes. Guess what? Local law enforcement is saying, we got this. Local leadership is saying, we got this.
They're not. And so if local law enforcement has been hamstringed by your Democrats who want everybody to be doing arts and crafts out on the street. And you know that damn well.
That's
ridiculous. They don't prosecute crime, Krystal. They don't prosecute crime. That's why you have people that have been arrested 36 times
in the city of Portland.
Oh, Portland is just a
crime
fever
reduction
dream.
in the city of Portland. Baltimore, Maryland has the lowest homicide rate right now, on track, lowest on record.
Go walk around Baltimore
crime is going
at night?
down, so you can't.
Krystal, would you go walk around Baltimore at night by yourself?
I would be fine walking around Baltimore.
I'd love to see it. Would you film it next time?
I'm not afraid of this country. I'm not afraid of the people in this country.
Right,
I don't think we're at war with the people in this country.
Krystal, I would love to see you go walk around these cities at night by yourself. Take a video and send it to me.
I've lived in these cities. I've walked around, not Baltimore specifically. I walked around plenty of cities, New York City at night, etc. It's not something to be terrified of. In any case, local law enforcement can handle it. The situation here is that you have the Trump coming in and wanting to make a show of force. This is not about dealing with crime. In fact, drug trafficking, probably something you care about. Those convictions are way down under the Trump administration. Why? Because they're all focused on like raiding Home Depots rather than going after actual criminals. So if you care about law and order, this administration has been a failure. No, what they're actually blowing out of the water is random innocent fishermen, which is another reason why this administration is completely out of control.
Do you have facts for that? When they're blowing up these drug cartel boats, they're just fishermen?
Actually, at least one of these boats. Okay, first of all, wildly illegal under international law, even if it is drug traffickers. That's number one. Number two, very few of the drugs that come into this country, which mostly are trafficked in by American citizens, by the way, come from Venezuela. Number three, reporters found the widowed wife of one of the fishermen who was blown up. Okay, so I don't know why you just accept uncritically. Are these the same kind of people? Hold on. Why do you just accept uncritically what this administration says at every turn? Like, don't you have a little bit of an inquisitive mind? Like, let me question a little bit. Let me question the government a little bit in what they're saying.
Krystal, here's my question for you. Those same people, the fishermen on these boats with all the drugs and whatever that just happen to be on there, are they the same thing as the farmers in Iraq and Afghanistan who are just digging holes on the side of the road, filling them with bombs to blow up our soldiers? The same kind of like the farmers.
You don't think that we massacred civilians in Iraq? You think we didn't massacre civilians at times in Iraq?
I'm sure that we did. It's called war, my friend. But this whole thing of like, they're just fishermen, they're just farmers, it's bullshit, and you know it's bullshit. But what's weird to me is Democrats will go out of your way.
It's weird to me that you just accept whatever this administration says when they lie all the time. Like their go-to move is just to lie about some stuff. We were told the CCOT guys were the worst of the worst. Oh, they're the worst of the worst. They're these violent criminals. They're all gang members. Lo and behold, the vast majority of them had no criminal records. Many of them were following the vast majority of them had no criminal records, and some of them were following the immigration procedures. And they're sentenced to this foreign slave labor camp with zero due process.
Alright, so here we've got Krystal Ball going head to head with Tomi Lahren, and this one gets real fast. Krystal pushes back hard against the right-wing fantasy that Antifa is some organized terrorist network, and honestly, she's right. Multiple FBI and DHS reports have already confirmed there's no evidence of a centralized Antifa organization. It's more of a loose movement than an actual group with leadership or funding. Now, Tomi keeps bringing up the idea that Democrats have somehow handcuffed law enforcement, but that doesn't line up with the numbers. Cities like Baltimore and Portland have actually seen declines in violent crime recently, especially in 2023 and 2024. So the whole crime is exploding under Democrats' narrative doesn't hold up when you look at the data. And when Krystal points out the Trump administration's show of force, that's a big one. Federal crackdowns often create more chaos than order. Remember the Portland protests? Even the city's mayor and local police said federal agents made things worse. Krystal's argument about misplaced priorities hits too. Under Trump, drug trafficking convictions dropped, while ICE operations ramped up against nonviolent immigrants. So yes, she's not just debating feelings here. She's backing her points with actual facts. That's why Tomi starts scrambling for a comeback, because Krystal's using reality, not rhetoric.
And it's crazy to me that you think that these principles will just stay with the people that you don't care about. That when due process is thrown out the window, that isn't an attack on all of our rights.
Are you one of those Kilmar Abrego Garcia, Maryland father people? You think he's just a Maryland
he was
father?
wrongfully deported. This administration admitted they wrongfully deported him. They admitted that, not me. They did.
No. He was wrongfully deported to El Salvador because a judge said he couldn't go there because he feared retribution from rival gangs. So it wasn't that he wasn't eligible for deportation, Krystal. It's that they shouldn't have sent him to El Salvador because then his rival gang members might kill him. So that was the issue. But he's not a gang member, but he's fearful of rival gangs. So that's a little weird to me. But again, so he was eligible for deportation because he's an illegal alien.
How they try to exact retribution against people who won't join with them and, pay their tribute.
So that's what it was?
You don't know that's how gangs work?
That's what it was. He's
You're
definitely
not familiar with that?
Even though how many judges in Prince George County said this guy is MS-13, you're like, nope, he said he wasn't, so he's not.
Zero said that, Tomi. Zero said that. You got to get your facts straight, girl.
They didn't have evidence of his MS-13 ties.
This bullshit case against them that they ginned up, by the way, was falling apart. So, they're trying to, or they're deporting him to a random third country.
Krystal, so
but because they knew. Yeah. No, but Tomi, the reason they're doing that is because they knew they were not going to be able to get a conviction against them because there was no there on this nonsense that they ginned up against him.
So when he was in Tennessee with all those people in the vehicle that had no luggage and didn't really know where they were going, he wasn't trafficking people. They were just heading out to a party. Heading out to a Tupperware party or what?
Law enforcement evaluated the situation and
said, no. The Biden administration said let him go.
So I'm going to take the cops.
No, Krystal.
I'm going to take the cops' word for it at the time.
Krystal.
Versus
those
your
are our
word
law
for it in
enforcement
this
officers in
invented case from
Tennessee.
the government.
Krystal. Law enforcement officers in Tennessee.
Let me ask you this, Tomi.
I know that this is your game to just interrupt me the entire time, but you're not going to do it.
Shouldn't they prosecute him then? If he's this violent gang leader,
the Biden administration said to let him go. He was on body cam with our Tennessee law enforcement officers that said this guy is human trafficking. The Biden administration said to let him go. It wasn't our law enforcement in Tennessee.
Joe Biden intervenes here? Okay. Tomi, but if he's this violent gang leader, don't you want to see him prosecuted?
I want to see him sent out of our country.
Him brought to justice? You're going to just let this violent gang leader go? Shouldn't he be prosecuted here? Shouldn't he face criminal justice for these horrific acts you're alleging that he committed? No, they want to just get him out of the country because they know they can't secure a conviction because they know there's no there. So you should be very upset with them for dropping this case and just deporting him.
No, I love it when they just deport the criminals.
Or do anything for these horrific human trafficking things that you say
Krystal,
that he did.
I love it when they just deport them. So you got the wrong number on that one. I love it when they just deport people. I think that's better. I'd rather do that.
So you like it when people don't face justice
No, they do.
You
it's
like
called
to
being
let
deported.
criminals go free.
No, it's being
You
deported.
like to let criminals go free and not have to serve.
You know what's interesting here? Krystal Ball isn't just defending one person, she's pointing out something much bigger about what happens when due process gets tossed aside. Once the government starts deciding who deserves rights and who doesn't, it doesn't stop at one case. It snowballs. And that's what makes her argument so important. The case they're talking about, the deportation of that Maryland father, actually had federal judges stating there was no evidence linking him to MS-13. Even the Biden administration later admitted that the deportation was wrongful. That's not opinion, that's documented fact. Yet Tomi keeps acting like being accused is the same as being guilty, which is the exact mindset due process is supposed to protect us from. And here's another fact. According to reports from the DHS Inspector General, there have been hundreds of wrongful deportations, including lawful residents and even some US citizens, because of clerical errors or false assumptions. Imagine being born here and getting detained because someone didn't update a database. That's the kind of thing Krystal is warning about. And what's worse is how Tomi tries to change the topic, pivoting to fear tactics instead of addressing the real issue, accountability. It's easier to call people criminals than to admit that the system makes mistakes. But Krystal's argument cuts through that. This isn't about left versus right. It's about whether we want a country that values justice over convenience. And on that point, she's absolutely right.
What do you think about that Iowa superintendent who's an illegal alien? What do you think about him getting that job? Are you cool with that one too, or you're going to surprise me, maybe?
I mean, in terms of his performance on the job, it seems like he did a good job. The community is out protesting his potential deportation because he was getting test scores back up after there was COVID learning loss. And, you know, I mean, to me, this is someone who apparently is exactly the type of person we would want in this country, not just when he was in Des Moines, but he also had a high-level role in St. Louis school systems and Pennsylvania school district. He was considered an outstanding principal in the Washington, D.C. school system. He's been in the country for decades, and he seems exactly like the sort of person that we should reward with citizenship, who's a tremendous benefit to our country and to his community.
The weapons they found, that doesn't concern you at all?
I thought you're a 2A girl.
I am a 2A girl, but illegal aliens doesn't apply to them, babe. They don't get to just walk around willy-nilly.
I don't have a problem with someone having a hunting rifle, personally.
So you don't care if illegal aliens have?
No, I think he should have
firearms?
Citizenship. That's my point. I don't really understand why you guys think the story is like a good one. And your side,
because Democrats tell us that they're not getting these jobs. You guys tell us they're not.
He's not the stereotype that you're trying to perpetuate about undocumented immigrants. You know, he has been an upstanding community member for decades. He's served school districts. He's been a fantastic educator. He was performing, apparently, according to locals, he was performing quite admirably in this job right here. So no, I believe that immigrants are a net benefit to society. And I believe someone like him should have been rewarded with citizenship long ago. Now, clearly he lied in the job application process. Yeah. That's not acceptable, et cetera.
Does that not bother you at all?
But this is exactly why we need, well, to me, it's an example of how immigrants benefit our country and why we need a path to citizenship so that people can be brought out of the shadows and can contribute openly in society the way that this.
You know what's wild about this exchange? Krystal Ball is absolutely right to push back here, because this Iowa superintendent story isn't just some one-off case. It highlights how broken and outdated America's immigration system really is. We've got people who've spent decades here, paying taxes, serving their communities, raising families, yet they're still treated like they don't belong. And in this case, we're talking about someone who literally improved public education outcomes for US students. Now, Tomi keeps trying to spin this like it's some scandal that he slipped through the cracks. But let's be real, that's not a flaw in the man, that's a flaw in the system. Studies from places like the American Immigration Council show that undocumented immigrants are actually less likely to commit crimes than native-born citizens. And on top of that, immigrants, or even undocumented ones, contribute billions in taxes every year. In Iowa alone, undocumented workers contribute over $60 million annually to state and local taxes. So when Krystal says this guy represents the kind of immigrant we should be welcoming, she's not just being idealistic, she's being practical. The US is facing teacher shortages, lower test scores, and a labor gap in skilled positions. Someone like him isn't the problem, he's part of the solution. The real issue is that instead of fixing immigration laws and creating a fair path to citizenship, politicians keep weaponizing stories like this one to stir outrage. And honestly, that outrage does nothing but hurt communities that are actually thriving because of people like him. Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.